Happy to go first.
All right, so we will, before we get to your presentation, but if you're going to go first, I'll just segue into that. I know almost everybody here, but good morning. I'm Jenny. Hello. Wonderful to see you all. Leandra is taking the snow day to play with her kids. CSU did not cancel, so I don't get a snow day. So I said that I would work for her. But as many of you know, I do not have the schedule down as well as she does. I just go, sure, I can make sure that 1 million cups happens this morning. So here we are, a little bit late. Everyone's bringing their own coffee today. So normally it's provided by Isolations Coffee and our coffee sponsor, Mike Bennett. But we won't thank them today because they didn't do anything for us.
Hey, Isolation Coffee brewed today. I have my cup.
Yeah, rub it in, Dane.
But didn't deliver. We were going to be at Front Range today, but because of the snow, we're all at our own houses. So we don't have to do that part either. Do we have any announcements? Anything anyone wants to share?
There's a Freezy Days event happening for Allo in Greeley, downtown Greeley, this Saturday from 12 noon, I believe, all the way to like 5. Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And what is it called? Free what?
It's called Freezy Days. And it's basically like, different promotions in the local businesses. And then you go from one to the other and they have promotions and they have games and some networking and some all kinds of cool stuff that Ryan Roth is heading up this Saturday.
Excellent. Other announcements you can see on the screen. We are not meeting next week because of Founded in FOCO, so hopefully everyone will join us there.
Can I make a quick Founded in FOCO announcement or ask?
Plug?
Yeah, plug.
Sure.
So everybody knows that it's going on, but we are in need of some volunteers to be room hosts and greeters as people come in and help presenters get set up. So if anybody's interested in doing that for a little while on any of those 3 days, you can message me in the chat and I'd be happy to chat about that.
And since I skipped over it and then Dane reminded me of the schedule, Greg, do you want to introduce yourself since you're inviting us to volunteer? Tell us who you are.
I'm one of the newbies here. This is I think my third Million Cups meeting.
Second time here, they already got you shilling for FOCO, man.
That's right. I also am helping plan that one. I just kind of joined up with that group as well. So anyway, my name is Greg Soph. I am a business consultant. I do business strategy and change management consulting, and my company is Vantage Point Initiatives. So I met a few people just recently that told me about 1 Million Cups. Peter on the call here is one of them, and I decided to check it out, and it seems like a really cool group to be part of. So
Awesome. Welcome.
thanks.
And in search of volunteers for Founded in FOCO. Dane?
And then
Yeah, the Venture Validator, CSU Venture Validator Phase 1 is starting next week. It goes 4 evenings, spread over 2 weeks. I think you can still sign up for that. I'm going to be taking Isolation Coffee through that. And this will be, I think Phase 1 is primarily about market and customer base. So if you need to validate your venture, check that out.
Awesome. And since I'm just combining announcements with introductions, Dane, why don't you introduce yourself too?
There we go. Sure. Dane Johnson with Rev Zero. I coach engineers turned managers, and I roast and brew Isolation Coffee.
Which he's enjoying and all of us are not. Denny.
All right. So last week I mentioned about Rockies Venture Club's Angel Capital Summit this year. I didn't have the date, but it's March 21st. It's going to be at University of Denver campus. So if you're interested in attending, reach out to me and I can give you the link. I'm gonna put it on the chat also, but usually it costs $150 to attend, but kind of the hack to that is if you volunteer for it, you're getting for free. And if you're fundraising, it's a great opportunity to meet angel investors. Rockies Venture Club is Colorado's largest angel investor network. So it's a great opportunity to meet angels and also hear the pitch so you know what the competition and the landscape is like in the angel funding round.
Awesome. Thanks, Danny. Dave.
Yeah, I just wanted to put in a quick plug. Hi, Dave Taylor. I run Longmont Open Coffee Club, and we meet in person every other week. And we are bouncing to a new facility temporarily for various reasons I can go into, but I won't. But in 2 weeks, we're meeting at Tinker Mill, which A, is a really cool place to check out anyway. And B, it'll be a really fun venue for us to meet. We're entrepreneurs and we just basically talk about what's going on in the biz, and people share their challenges and we try to help people solve them. And many of the faces here I have seen at Open Coffee, and you are definitely invited to join us. So 2 weeks from today, I'm going to drop a link into the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. Ben.
I'll second and throw a shout out to Open Coffee. I'm a big fan of Longmont Open Coffee. I try to get down there as often as I can and highly recommend it for anybody. As far as my announcement, Made in Loveland is continuing this week. So tomorrow there will be sessions at Desk Chair Workspace in downtown Loveland. So 8 a.m., noon, and 4 p.m. And then Tuesday next week is the final day, and those sessions will be at 8 and noon. And then there's a closing party at Sky Bear Brewing in downtown Loveland as well. So if you want to support the entrepreneurial community in Loveland, even if the sessions aren't, specifically topical interest to you, come out, support the presenters that are giving them, and you never know who you're going to meet.
Awesome. Thank you. Daniel, you have another announcement?
Just a quick notice on our stuff. So yeah, we're DJM Design. We're a multimedia, multicultural company. Got a South African owner myself with my funny accent, just in case people get stuck on that. I don't like that. But yeah, we are looking for sponsorships on our podcast show. We're doing really well. We get 2,000 views per video. And we have an open enrollment for that now for the next month, and then we'll close it up. So yeah, we get a lot of traction. It's the first 30 seconds of the show, and it gets to your audience. So yeah, that's it. Thanks, guys.
Awesome. Thank you. And Carlos.
Hello, everyone. I'm a software engineer, basically a full stack. I moved recently from Texas to Fort Collins, Colorado. And I was talking to Peter Bostwick because I was thinking about maybe starting a business to provide technical support to the senior community. I ended up renting a house here in a retirement community, and that's one of the needs that came up. And then he invited me to a couple of meetings, including this one. And I'm going to attend the Founded in Fort Collins, Colorado event that is upcoming. It's exciting. So I'm just trying to been working. I'm looking for a job opportunity because I was laid off in January, as a lot of people was. So that's me. So happy to meet you and be here.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Great. All right. You can see up here. Do we have open slots? Natalie texted this morning. The 22nd, sorry, let me check.
Sorry, am I not? I don't know why my screen stopped sharing.
Or if anybody knows.
Is it? Am I sharing right now? We should have the 15th.
Yeah,
We have.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we're seeing it.
15th and 29th. I was seeing if those were updated because didn't Natalie text this morning?
She did, but I think those are updated based on
They're
the
still
latest.
open. All right. Thanks. Sorry. So open slots if, Carlos, Daniel, Greg, Dave, people who haven't presented here before, if you're interested in presenting to us, those are spots that are open, and you contact Natalie right there to let her know if you're interested in presenting at one of those. So we'll get started with our first presentation from Gabe. Where'd you go? Yeah, there we go. Gabe, who's a professional leadership coach with Effective Connection, and his fun fact is that he is an avid forager. So he likes to go and find mushrooms in Colorado and all over the world and see how many he can eat.
Yep, I got some bucket list species that I got on my radar for this year. I try to eat 1 or 2 new wild mushroom species a year, and not die.
Yeah, that's a very dangerous habit, right? Right.
Yeah, there's a very, very silly phrase in the mycology community. They say all mushrooms are edible and some only once. So I'm not interested in that column.
I love that joke. All right. So you have 6 minutes for your presentation, and I will give you a 5-minute warning.
Great, thanks, Jenny. Yeah, and so as Jenny mentioned, I'm a purpose alignment and leadership development coach, and I help teams and individuals align with their values and pursue missions that matter. And what I'm going to share with you guys now is actually a very, very, very condensed version of my talk on Wednesday at Founded in Focus. Would love to see you guys there for a deeper exploration of this topic. It's one that I've seen get a ton of traction with my clients. And yeah, let me know, can you see my screen right now?
Yes.
Does it look like what you guys want to see? Okay, great. So how to get better at hard conversations. We all have difficult conversations all the time. We need to get better at them. Kind of goes without saying. This is something that has infinite room for improvement in every team that I've worked with. And my ask here, oh, come on, advance the slide. Hold on a sec. I'm not sharing the right thing from my end because I can't advance the slides. So let me try that one more time. You guys see it now?
Yep.
You guys see the slides moving?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, awesome. Great, thank you. New monitor, new process for me. So my ask, I just want to see how clear and engaging is this? Do you find this information useful? Who do you know who needs this? My typical business partners inside of organizations are talent development leaders, people in HR, even small and medium-sized business owners that want to improve the communication on their team. So if you know of a team who's having challenge with conversations and communication, if you know of a talent development leader who wants to bring an amazing resource for their team, my ask is that you keep this in mind and come to the presentation on Wednesday, really see the deeper version of this where we get to dive in and actually practice with some of this stuff. So the foundation of this is a toolkit called Authentic Relating that in my 5 years doing this work is the most useful set of practices I've found to improve relationships. The first practice is to welcome everything. That doesn't mean we have to love it. It just means we're able to be with it and not in it. So we're able to kind of widen our window of tolerance between fight and flight, where we can actually stay connected to a conversation and somebody that we're with, even if we disagree with them. So that's the first step. The second is to assume nothing, which is actually impossible to do. Nobody can do that. The trick here is to notice, name, and drop your assumptions so that all the stories that you have about what this person did the last time, all of our natural biases and judgments and cultural conditioning about what to expect from others, all of our own internal self-beliefs don't show up and influence the quality of an interaction. If we're able to meet that person in the present as they are, we're able to drop those assumptions and work with what's truly alive in that relationship in the present moment. The third practice is to reveal our experience. And that doesn't mean walking around telling everybody what we're thinking all the time. I don't recommend that. I've actually tried it. It's not a great relational strategy. What we mean here is that we're curious and noticing for ourselves what's going on. And we're able to actually kind of be with some tension or some paradox, right? Maybe part of us is annoyed with what that person just said, and the other part is leaning in and curious about what we might have misunderstood. So if we're able to be with ourselves in that way, we're able to reveal that with 100% ownership to others, which means we're sharing our experience unarguably. And that's the fourth practice. So instead of saying something like, you never listened to me, I might say something like, hey, I feel unheard when you cut me off before I finish my sentence, right? So when we're owning our experience, we're making ourselves responsible for the response that we have to others' behavior. So we can't control what people do. We can't control what the world does, but we can control how we react to it. And so that's what we mean by own our experience. And the fifth practice of honor self and other is where all of these kind of meet in relationship. And there's one key question that's really useful to ask here, which is what do I need and what do you need? So what's needed here is that key question. And do those needs meet in the middle? Are there any places of like non-negotiability there? Are there places where we're willing to lean in? But if we come to interactions with that question of what's needed here, and we're able to reveal our experience and notice to ourselves like, oh, I need to drink some water, right? You need to slow down because I can't hear you that well, right? Whatever it is, we're able to really meet that person more effectively in relationship and not let things run off the rails and get driven by assumptions. In conflict, it's not something people are really excited about. I've met almost no one who's like a hell yes to a difficult conversation, but there are some really powerful reasons why teams should actually embrace conflict and treat it as a business resource instead of something to be avoided. The first is teams trust each other more when they've been through something difficult together. How can you think of a friend where you maybe had to do something difficult, like on a road trip, you got a flat tire and you saw them in action, and like you know who people are when you've really been in something difficult with them. Clarity always comes from this too. So you might not know somebody's boundaries until you cross them. And if you're willing to learn that gracefully, then you really have a sense of who somebody is instead of assuming things and maybe having difficulty building up in the relationship that's unsaid. Connection is also built through this. So conflict is an intimate process. One of my favorite lines from The Matrix is like that little guardian angel fights Neo, and Neo's like, why'd you fight me? You knew I was the one. And he's like, well, you never know someone until you fight them. And I kind of don't, I think that's true, especially on teams. Like if you haven't had it out with somebody, you don't really have that depth and quality of connection before. And there's a lot of lip service paid to kind of diversity and inclusion these days, but really, like diversity means embracing dissonance. It doesn't mean getting people who look different than us to agree with us and conform to the same patterns of belief that we have. We have more resources on a team when we have true plurality of thought. And that requires psychological safety and trust for those people who might think or look or act differently from the rest of the team to truly speak up and make their voice heard. So if we're not making safe space for conflict, we're actually doing a disservice to this really important project of building diversity into our teams. And so let's talk about a little bit about these 5 steps for managing difficult conversations more effectively. And again, I'd love to hear your thoughts on this at the end. Receiving first. This is relational Aikido. And so Aikido is a martial art where you try to disarm your opponent while causing minimal harm to both parties. So that's kind of the objective here, is to slow things down, kind of pull back without harming yourself or that other person. First step. Sounds really simple, actually kind of hard to do. Do nothing. Don't wait to fire back. Don't get your point in. Don't notice, right? Reveal your experience. If you feel the mercury rising, just take a deep breath and welcome it. Just do nothing and completely listen. And the way we completely listen is we actually ask a question in response to what that person said. So instead of firing back our clever rebuttal, we're just like, hey, is that all? Did I miss anything? Is there more? Right? You can ask a question and invite that person to fully share their experience and then reflect back what you heard. What I heard was, you felt like I dropped the ball when I was late on Tuesday for the meeting and I wasn't prepared and you were really worried about the impact that had on the client. Did I get that right? Right. So ask for clarification, reflect back the key points of what they heard, and then take ownership. If you learned something new, right? This doesn't mean that we're constantly going around and being the martyr or we're trying to find ways to make ourselves at fault for other people's behavior or bad decisions. But you might just tell someone what you learned and thank them for sharing some difficult information. Yeah, I hear accountability is really important to you. And I might not have thought much of a 3-minute delay, but I hear that that's really important to you as part of this team to know that we're all arriving on time for the project that we agreed to. I can take ownership of that, right? Sharing impact is an optional thing when you're receiving.
We're over 7 minutes now.
I told you this wasn't going to fit. I told you that was not the way I did it. I'll just show you guys the giving side and leave this as a teaser for Wednesday. So you'll have to come to the workshop to find out how to actually give difficult feedback. Now that I gave you a preview of how to receive it, there's some really, really powerful things here, but I'll just name the first one, that why before what. Center the shared goals in the relationship. Find out what's important to that person and lead with that, not why you're upset. Like, hey, I really want to get more effective on my team with you, right? Can we talk about a challenging issue we had? And so I knew this was never going to fit in 6 minutes, but I did my best. I'm going to skip this and make you guys come on Wednesday to find out all the rest of this. Hope to see you on March 1st at Founded in FOCO. And again, my session's on Wednesday morning at 9 a.m. right after the keynote, or at 10 a.m. right after the keynote. And yeah, just would love to hear from you guys. How clear is this? How useful do you think it might be? And who do you know who needs it? So I'll stop there. Thanks, Jenny.
Thanks, Gabe. It goes so fast for everybody.
It's
But-
6 minutes. This is ridiculous. It's like,
Yeah, but it leaves us with a lot of things to, that we're curious about.
yeah, I like that it became a teaser for next Wednesday.
Exactly. You might have to throw the QR code in the chat or back up on the screen because that was just a blip, but cool. Questions. What questions do y'all have for Gabe? Beth, you want to go?
Yeah, Gabe, nice work. I worked in HR for, or organizational development for a lot of years. And one of the things that I found especially valuable when dealing with really emotionally charged situations and individuals in the moment, and this is not all kinds of conflict because, it's generally better to take a step back and then come back and have this kind of a conversation versus in the moment. But one of the things I found really, really powerful for me as the listener, as well as for the person who had the issue, was to, in the very first step you talk about listening, one of the things that I found really valuable was to what I call bleed out the emotion. Because once I found people got rid of the emotional reaction, then they were able to be much clearer with what their ask was or what they were frustrated with. But if you have all that emotion flying around the room, you are triggered as a listener, but they aren't able to articulate what it is that they have to say very clearly. So it's like you have to get past that stuff at the beginning, and then you can really start to dig into what the real issues are. So that's just, it's probably more of a focused, difficult conversation that's got emotional. It doesn't apply to every kind of a conflict, but I've found that to be especially valuable. And then there was one slide that you had where you had the word till, T-I-L-L. I would put in the word until, because my first impression was tilling a field. I don't think that's what you meant, but that's what it looked like when I first saw it. It's like, what do you mean by till? Oh, it's until. So anyway.
Yeah.
Thanks, Beth.
You bet.
Ben?
Thanks for the presentation, Gabe. You're a very dynamic, engaging speaker. So really, I know you struggle with the timing a little bit, but good job on the presentation. I think you'd be someone very interested to come and watch a longer form session. I don't remember who it is, but I think there was some famous quote by a president about how, he could talk for an hour. You only needed, 10 minutes to prepare. If he had to talk for 5 minutes, he'd need, like 2 days or 2 weeks or something like that. So definitely if you're given those time constraints, it sucks, but like try to constrain, try to force yourself to constrain down to that amount, because it will make you a better presenter. And as far as the content goes, a lot of this feels like I saw a lot of themes here that were familiar to me, whether they be like you kind of joked about the radical honesty chance or experiment that you did. That'd be kind of maybe a fun story to share, but again, maybe something in the longer form context. And then a lot of this seems to be like rooted in the concept of nonviolent communication. So is this your take on that concept, or like what's the founding principles here? Is this your content unique that you've created, or is this like a system that you're kind of like working on sharing?
Yeah, this is a system that I'm working on sharing. I learned this in a series of workshops, and the people who brought it to me described it as open source social technology. So they don't even actually have like any kind of copyright on it, and it's derived from about 30 years of behavioral science research, including NVC. So there are some parts of it that go a little bit further than NVC, which I didn't have time to talk about, but you're right, that's part of the kind of origin material of this work.
Cool, thank you.
Awesome. Carl?
Yeah, good job, Gabe. It felt unhurried and natural, which can be a challenge in this short of time. So good job there. One of the things that occurred to me is that a lot of this stuff, you might read on self-help books or sites or whatever. It's like, yeah, this is all, stuff that sure, yeah, I need to do it. But what brought it to life was that you delved beyond just the words on the surface and gave some little short snippets of why it's a deeper thing than just saying, okay, stop and listen. It's like, of course, everybody tells me to do that, but here's why that's a difficult thing. And, so that I think really brought it to life. And that gave me the impression that when we have the time to delve into this for real, that it'll actually be some good, valuable content there behind it. So really appreciate that. And I think that's a valuable approach. And I would hope that in the longer class that you'll be able to give some more depth of examples of, telling a story. I was trying to figure out whether telling a story here in the short amount of time that you have is even possible. And it's like, well, we got little snippets of stories. And so that's probably good enough. So good job there. And you and I can chat offline about getting this connected into some of the other people in the community.
Thanks, Carl.
Yeah.
Yeah, and one of the things I love about this is that it shouldn't be totally new. And I could preface that at the beginning, that ideally none of this sounds like completely novel information. It's just a useful format of something that feels familiar.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The challenge is doing it.
Yeah, for sure.
Dane.
Gabe, thanks for coming back, presenting again. The format of your presentation clearly is educational, but since this is the work that you do and you are trying to get referrals and you are trying to get people interested in working with you, I would want to hear, even as you're teaching us the concepts, what an engagement with you looks like. And start with a micro niche of who you work with. Like it can't be all businesses everywhere. Hone in on something and then just talk about that. And then in your engagements, this is how I help people start with why instead of what. Here's how I help people do nothing. So what does it actually look like? You can teach us while doing that. As far as your ask for resources or references, who to talk to, I went to the SHRM Mile High Conference the other week. They do it annually, but that is exactly where you should be. The presentation on conflict management and conflict resolution mediation was jam-packed. That was the only totally full talk. So HR people are hungry for communication skills. So go to SHRM conferences.
Awesome. Thank you. Super good feedback. And I'm presenting something really similar at the ODN network in March. So that's organizational development professionals. It's like adjacent to SHRM, but I love it. Thank you.
Oh, I need to look that one up. Thank you. Put a link for that conference in the chat, please.
It's just a group. It's not a conference. They booked me to do like a training for them. But yeah, organizational development. So I'll look it up. I will put it in the chat. Thanks, Dan.
All right, James and Sharon, really quick. I'm doing a bad job of time management.
Well, speaking of time management, with a 6-minute format, I kind of felt like I was getting the full presentation. So the word teaser that you use is exactly what I think you can use a 6-minute format for. And this builds on what Dane said. I'd rather just see just the headline, here are the topics, here are the effects, here are the topics, here are the effects, as opposed to going through each of the effects individually.
Thank you.
Sharon?
So what I'm hearing from the group and you yourself is that a lot of this is familiar ground, right? Like as a former rhetoric teacher, I was just like, oh, Carl Rogers. Yes, I know all of this. Jenny also probably teaches a bunch of that stuff. But I think my question for you is, like, you don't have a 6-minute limit at Founded in FOCO, but you do still have constrained time. So I'm wondering how you are working to prioritize the experiential components that will help us get a sense of what working with you is like, and help us take that familiar material and apply it in some kind of new way for us.
Thank you. Yeah, I have about a third of the time we'll be together is going to be in dialogues. So actually applying this stuff to some either mock scenarios or kind of dealer's choice. Like I want people to actually practice this in a difficult conversation. So I want you to try it on and see how it works for you. So Thanks, Sharon, because I do love that part. That's how I work with teams. It's like, I want to talk less than 30% of the time and have them actually unpack it about 70% of the time. And a lot of it's done with games like little dyads or kind of sentence stems that we start with. And we do a lot of debrief as a group and ask people to bring examples to share.
So one thing, because my Founded in FOCO session is also going to be very workshop-y, and I am conscious of the fact that some people may not have the context I expect them to when they walk in the room. So I'm wondering if you could do something like a quick, just like 1-page PDF that you could link in a QR code for people who need, like, that's what I'm doing. It's like a reference sheet or a takeaway.
Yeah,
They can have
I'm
after.
printing little cheat cards that kind of have both of those 5 steps to give and 5 steps to receive on the actual, like everybody's going to have that on their chair, I hope, when they walk in.
Cool.
Because you're right, not everybody's going to remember.
All right. I have to
Thanks,
interrupt you. You're almost done. Thank you. Thank you, Gabe. Thanks everybody for your feedback. We will take one brief break just to switch over to John. So if you have time to get up and refill your coffee and come back while John is getting set up. That's it.
Refill quickly.
Yeah, as he said, I'll be lucky if I push the 6-minute limit because I'm not going to use my video I was going to use.
Oh, you're just gonna talk to us.
No. I got a presentation.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's just I got toys I was going to bring.
Oh, to in person?
John wanted to
In
break
person.
stuff in person. He was going to get us kicked out of FRCC.
Yeah, I had I had some gel shots and everything, and Mother Nature kind of put a kibosh to that. So
All right. Well, are you ready?
give me a few seconds here.
I'll do intro right before you go. So tell me when you feel like you want me to start.
Okay. Well, as soon as I get the screen here. Come on. There's that. Uh-oh, where'd it go? Oh, there it is.
Normally, while this is going on, people are getting coffee and they're not paying attention to what you're doing, right?
It is.
And Leandra's yelling at you specifically for not, being in your seat by the time.
I know.
that-
Well, I always start talking and then I don't get coffee. Yeah. Ready, John?
Give me 1 second.
Okay, so Jon Barry is one of our very regular attendees at 1 Million Cups. And his company is 1492 Protection, which I assume he's going to tell us about with all the gadgets that we won't get to play with. His fun fact, because it was snowing, he was reminiscing about racing snowmobiles cross country. So that's something that he used to do, racing snowmobiles cross country. All right, so John, you have 6 minutes. I will put my hand up when you have 1 minute left.
How does everyone hear me? Pretty good?
Good.
All right, cool. So today's presentation is more of just like an overview, educational. It's what I'm gonna use some of this presentation for when I go and sit in front of all the fire chiefs in the state. And what I'm looking for with this presentation is this feedback on clarity and does the presentation have a good storyline? So with that, let's get started. Today's presentation is your fire department prepared for electric car fires? Speaker, I am Jon Barry, the owner of 1472 Protection. And, let's get going here. You're driving along in your car. All of a sudden you're starting to feel a little heat underneath the seat, because the battery's starting to light up and starting to get a little hot. All of a sudden your car catches on fire. And this is where the fire department comes in. And, one of the big things with the electric cars is the lack of training and equipment that are given to the fire departments. Because I was looking online, and the only thing they have is there's a checklist to use from Europe to help put out fires with water. And you can see down here in the bottom, for a regular car fire, it takes 500 to 1,000 gallons of water to put out. Now, for electric car fire, it takes 30 to 40,000 gallons of water. So there's a lot of resources going into putting the car out, and that's why I put the picture of horse tooth there. It's basically you're draining horse tooth to put one of these out. And I know that's a little skewed, but just for point. And the other thing too is with the differences between people owning gas cars and electric cars is about 200 million, but then that's just because of time. But we also know over the next few decades that those numbers are going to slowly start switching because they're pushing more for electric cars. You know, so let's pinpoint some of these concerns. You know, once a electric car catches on fire, you know, lithium batteries burn at 3,600 degrees. That's pretty hot. You know, because you know it gives off toxic fumes. That's why you see the firefighter down here in the right picture has a self-breathing apparatus on, because the nickel and the cobalt from the battery and everything is pretty toxic. And here's the other thing too, with it burning so hot, it damages more than just a car. It damages the asphalt or the concrete or the dirt around it. You know, in the first slide, you saw them driving through a tunnel. Could you imagine if an electric car fire got in the Eisenhower tunnel? I mean, besides being a confined space, you just compromise the tunnel with that too. And here's another thing too, is once the car is put out, it doesn't go to a regular wrecking yard, it goes to a hazardous waste dump. So the solution for the firefighters is Fire Ice ST gel, which is a specialized gel that will put out lithium car fires right away, because it will cool and prevent the runaways from getting away from everywhere. So instead of dropping, you know, thousands of gallons of water, you're only dropping about, you know, up to 300 gallons, depending on the size of the fire. You know, if you have a row of electric cars on fire or just one. You can see here non-corrosive, and honestly, it's just like the gel I use for my exterior fire protection system. You can eat it. That's how it is. And so here's our action for helping the fire departments set up for the response of the electric vehicles. It's called a rapid response unit. So we fill this up with the Fire Ice ST, put it on a trailer so it's sitting over onto a side, because you can't put weight onto the fire truck. It already has enough weight on it. So here's the rapid response unit you see here. There's the things for it, but then in the bottom, this is what I was bringing in, was the big piercing nozzle. That's what I was holding up, because to put out the fire effectively, you have to force with this piercing nozzle to get into the battery cavity. So you got to go through the casing of the battery. So once you get that in there, then you can get the gel and it will encapsulate and cool the battery right then and there. There's the video I was going to do. So in conclusion, you know, we have shown that, you know, with the using the ST instead of water, it saves time and resources. Another thing too is a lot of fire departments are not set up for this, and this is why I'm going to the chiefs here to explain. It's like, here's a solution, because they are looking for a solution. And you know, and electric car fires are going to be on the increase with the manufacturing going on. You see them all over the commercials. Everything's going to electric, and I know that was quick, down, and dirty. So that's it. I know I just rifled right through that thing.
Well done, though, John. Thank you. You said conclusion, right? When I gave you the 5 minutes. Perfect. Lovely. All right. Questions, thoughts, Ben?
What's that? I don't know. This all of a sudden the audio on this just chopped.
Can you hear us, John, still? Are you all right?
Now I can.
Okay. Thanks for presenting. And I guess I'm a little confused in the presentation as to, so this is an education piece for the fire chiefs, but you're also Is this,
Actually, what
is
it
the
is
sled
I
thing
just-
a product of 1472? Is that where it's going?
Well, this is a chopped down version of the original presentation I'm gonna do for the fire chiefs. I just basically just hit the highlights.
Okay. But what's the goal of the presentation? What are you trying to accomplish with them?
I'm trying to get them to buy the unit and show them that there is a solution for putting out electric car fires.
So your 1472 is selling the sled unit that is basically a delivery mechanism for the gel. Is that, am I understanding that?
Yeah, we're selling both the unit and the gel and the
Okay.
nozzle.
All right.
All as one package. Yeah, I know it was a quick presentation. And I was like, oh,
Yeah, I think for me, there's an opportunity to really kind of like tighten up your story arc. And I know it's only a segment of the presentation, but make sure, like, I'd like to see a clear definition of the problem, which you kind of touched on a little bit with the EVs, but like the problem, the current lack of, understanding and or solutions in the market, and then really highlighting why this solution is something they should be considering. So I really think you really want to look at your
Right,
story
yeah.
arc and tighten up problem, existing scenario and then solution. So that's my feedback. So thank you.
yeah, okay, yeah, I know. Thanks, man.
Dean?
Hey, John. I'm sorry I didn't get to play with the nozzle. That would have been fun. So I don't think you need much. You don't need much more time. And I don't, to counter Ben a little bit, you're talking to an audience who knows the problem statement well. They know the solution because they're going to have pitches from other technology people. I don't think you need to spend a whole lot more time on that at all. I think this could be a simple 3-minute like intro presentation. Keep it super short because you want to get into their objections right away. And so what I would ask you is be prepared for that. What are the top 1, 2, 3 objections that a fire chief will have that will prevent them from buying this from you right now?
Okay. Yeah, I caught about half of that, dude. Sorry.
Oh, I'll put it in the chat.
And you can watch the recording.
Yeah, for some
Ron.
reason. What's that?
You can watch the recording.
There we go. That might
Yes.
help if I turn the video off.
I am recording today.
Oh, there we go. I can hear everyone now. For some reason,
I think, yeah,
Yeah,
I think your
that
internet
sucks.
pipeline's kind of struggling a little bit.
yeah. Yeah, I know
We'll
that was a
capture
pretty
it
quick.
for you, John, and then you can
Thank-
come back to it.
Dane, do you want to, Dane can just repeat his
Yeah.
question or at least the essence of it too.
Just real quick, John, you don't need a whole lot more content in your presentation. You're presenting to experts. You're an expert, but go into these meetings knowing what their top 3 objections will be, like
Yep.
cost
Mhm.
and skeptical of whether it will actually work. So just address those objections.
Yeah, because see so when I do this, I do have as you can tell with the nozzle I have here, we do a hands-on presentation with it. So we do show them right then and there that it actually does work. That's why I want to show the video, but I knew the bandwidth was not the best. Because that does show, it does put out the fire pretty quick compared to just regular water and halon.
Yeah, good.
But thanks, Dane.
Dave, your hand is up and down and that you are unmuted.
Okay, well, I'll go next. Partially because Ben sort of covered a lot of what I was going to say, but
Yeah.
I feel like you're sort of waffling between an informational presentation, in which case you need statistics, and a
Yeah.
sales pitch, in which case you need to be a little bit more clear about the fact that you're selling. But I feel like from a sort of tactical perspective, what I think would be really great would be for you to present the problem. And then, since they're experts, just ask them, now, how do you deal with it? You just got a call, you've pulled up with your team and your truck, and it's a Tesla and it's on fire. How do you deal with an EV fire? And then give them a minute to think about it. And then say, here's what I've got. I've got this better solution. If you have one of these at the station and you know it's an EV fire, you pull up and let me show you a video of how much more effective it is. And I think that would sell it much more effectively than having it sort of be half informational and sort of half sales. So that's my pitch.
Yeah, I know I was trying to cram a lot in there in 6 minutes, but yeah, I that's the way I would go with it. The way you talk there, Dave, is there's a lot of firefighters when they do, because I've talked to both Loveland, Fort Collins, and Wellington here, and they've all said they just throw water at it.
Lots of positive feedback for Dave's ideas in the chat. Totally agree. Like, John, just watch what Dave just did and do what he told you to do.
Yep. Yeah, I do appreciate it. That's why I love doing presentations. I get good feedback.
Yeah. All right, Carl.
Yeah, there were a couple of weird points that kind of surprised me. So at the beginning, you said that you looked it up on the internet and got some statistic. And it's like, I would think that they would not put much value in doing a Google search for something important, that there would be more authoritative resources. The other thing is that there was a slide that was titled Talking Points, which sounds kind of weird. But in general, the thing I would need to watch out about is not having this turn into just, I have a technology which can address this problem, but I have a full solution. So in other words, not only the device, but also the way to cart the device around, whether that's on a trailer or whatever it is, the training, certainly the consumables, things like that, so that it feels much more like a complete solution and not just a technology that's half-baked like you would see on Shark Tank or something like that.
Right.
Because that does happen occasionally. But yeah, I mean, this is a real thing. I've heard fire professionals that say when we get to an EV fire, we just let the sucker burn and hope that it doesn't burn down the buildings next to it, because it's ridiculous to try to fight these things. It'll put itself out eventually.
Eventually, yeah. It usually takes anywhere between 8 to 24 hours to put out a fire.
Yeah, right. But there are some unfightable fires, which are buildings or whatever, right? And that's one of the ways of addressing it, is just you worry about the building next to it and say this one's a loss. So
that's why I brought up the in the tunnel, because if a EV fire gets in a tunnel, I mean, you just compromise that whole tunnel.
Yeah, that's a fabulous example, and I appreciate that.
All right, we'll have Beth and Ben quickly so that we have time for wins and resources and things.
Yeah, so yeah, this is really interesting, John, this whole area. One of the things, though, that you mentioned up front, which I thought was interesting, is the toxic fumes and such that are, released when you have an electrical fire like this.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I'm guessing your fire chiefs are going to be concerned about is their personnel. So I don't think you really addressed that. So you brought it up, but I think it would be a really important point to put into your presentation someplace. So at least they know you've thought about it, because that, to me, I would argue is going to be more of a benefit, or a first. If I were a fire chief, I'd be looking out for my folks first, and then I'll be worried about the road, because the highway guys will take care of that, but I can't repair a person.
Yeah, that's why when we had the picture of the burnout car and the guy firefighter.
Yeah.
It had the Scott pack, and that's why I said you gotta, that's why I pointed out to the firefighter he had a Scott on to protect himself from the fumes.
But I think what it's important to talk about very specifically is how your product would mitigate some of that problem.
Right.
I'm assuming that anyway. So, but I think that's a point to mention.
In fact, I missed one of my key points there at the end was time. It saves time and resources.
Yeah. people being a key one. But anyway, thank you.
Thank you, Beth. I love it.
You betcha. All right, see ya.
Yes, Mr.
All right.
Ben.
Yeah, I just want to follow up on, I agree with a lot of what Dave's points were, like everybody else. And then Sharon had a good one in the chat that kind of like jumped out to me was, if this is these are experts, right? This is what they do every day.
Yep.
So why would they still be throwing water at these things if there's this better solution out there? Is it really a cost issue? And if it is a cost issue, how are you helping mitigate that, or how?
It's a new technology.
Okay, so it may be an actual information deficit, is what I'm hearing.
Right.
Okay, so then
You
that
know,
kind
'cause
of
this-
raises the question of like, is it a sales pitch or is it an information pitch? Is it some of both? But like,
It's
if
some
there's
of both.
if there's truly an information deficit, which there may be, yeah, it's an interesting position that you want to craft it accordingly. The other
Right.
thing that really kind of jumped out to me too, just from you held up the the nozzle thing.
Mhm.
One of the things that you highlighted in the presentation was that the EV fire burns at, I think, 3,600 some degrees Fahrenheit is what you posted in there. And to
Mhm.
bring back Beth's point of like, okay, so what does that mean from a personnel issue? Is their current fire protection equipment rated to allow someone to actually go in and insert that? Is that something like you're shooting into the car with an air cannon? That's a completely different scenario, right?
Well, the other thing I didn't show was so the fire nozzle itself is 3 feet long.
Yeah.
And then we got another we have 3 foot long extensions. So
Okay.
we can put out extensions, and then,
Yeah.
in the way this thing is, it isn't gonna take very much to get into the battery case.
And I think the opportunity there to Beth's point is like, what does that mean from them for a chief from his
Right.
people's safety perspective, right? Because
Right.
you don't need to tell me that it's 3 feet long. You're going to be able to tell me that, hey, your team can insert this thing from 12 feet, securely
Right.
from 12 feet away.
Actually, you can do it right up, right up next to the car, just on the other side of the
Wait,
fire.
I'm gonna interrupt because
all
we
right,
only have
I'm
a few
done.
minutes
Thank
left.
Okay.
Thanks, John. And we have to do
Thank
our
you.
very last thing for the day, which in 4 minutes. Anyone have a win that they want to share? A win to celebrate, a resource to share, or an ask for help? Carl.
Yeah, so I had a chance to land a deal teaching a class that's based out of the UK. And it's for people who are on their retirement journey and trying to figure out what do they want to do with the next part of their lives, because they still want to be productive and maybe building an income and things like that. And so it's a fabulous program. I actually took it last year, but I'm going to be teaching the one that's in March. So that's something I got involved in here.
Awesome. Congrats, Carl.
Is my sound working now?
Yep.
Yes. Hi, Sally.
Awesome. So I have two quick things. We have our March classes up for the SVDC. I saw Rena's still here. RJ's doing 2 classes for us in March, so check out that schedule. I'll throw the link in the chat. Also, shout out to DJM Media. We did a success story on them last year, and they were chosen as the state's success story for Larimer in their annual report. I'll throw that link in there as well. If you haven't read it, I will throw that link in there also.
Thank you, Sally. Wow. That's awesome.
Thank you, Sally. Great for you, Daniel.
Yeah, great for Larimer. I'm actually here with my baby boy. He needs some help. Wednesdays is my stay-at-home baby day.
Oh, yeah. Others.
John has
John?
his hand up.
Yeah, I just got confirmed. I got my first interview for a 100K program, so hopefully I get it real
Awesome.
soon.
Congrats.
Yep.
Other wins, resources, need help?
Good job, Jenny.
Hey, thanks for filling in today, Jenny. We appreciate you.
I said to Leandra, it's way more fun in person than it is remote, but
We got a hell of a turnout online. Thank you to everyone for joining us online today, and
Yeah.
really appreciate it. I know that we're all like zoomed out over the past couple of years, but I still love the community and everybody getting together and sharing the feedback and providing the value. So thank you all.
It was amazing. Lots of feedback, very active people today. Maybe the snow.
Natalie's here. I didn't even see
Natalie,
you.
10 minutes.
Natalie. Awesome. All right. Well,
March, so just real quick, March 15th and 29th, we have 2 slots available. I think, Natalie, if I didn't mess that up, so
Yeah, 1 on the 15th and 2 on the 29th.
1 on the 15th, 2 29th.
Yeah.
So if you want slots, please email Natalie. I threw her email in the chat. Get
Yeah,
on it.
I'll put it in there.
excellent. Well, next week we do not have 1 million cups
Right.
because we will all be at Founded in
Please,
FOCO, right?
please go to Founded and Foco,
Mhm.
friends. Support the program. Everyone that's presenting, please go and support. It's important for us and for the community that we do this.
And or consider volunteering.
And yes, Greg, yeah, Greg's there. You can
As
hit up
long as
Greg.
you're gonna be there, you might want to stand at a table or wait
Hey,
some
Ben,
time.
can you remind us of where the schedule for Founded in FOCO can be found online, please?
Greg, can you help me with that? I don't have it super handy.
foundedinfoco.com. Give me 1 second.
Yeah, it's .com. Foundedinfoco.com.
Foundedinfoco.com. Yep, there's a navigation tab called schedule there. You can find what you need.
And
And there's also under get involved. That's how you find the volunteer opportunities.
And this year we have an exhibit hall, so it's a place to mill around and talk to people that are offering products and services. And a way to connect and network. Almost all the tables are sold out, so it's too late to request a table this year, but think about it for next year.
There'll be one with 1 MC swag on it, so get your MC swag.
See you there. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful rest of your snowy day. There's more snow coming, right? So
Be safe if you go anywhere. Have a good week,
Yeah,
y'all.
and stay warm.
Take care.
It's going to get colder.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Bye, all.
Bye, everyone.
Later.